month has flown by. That means it's time to stop and rank all 8 April 2022 films that I saw, from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and as my shirt says, I love to talk movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Let me know, what April movies did you see? Which one's the best? Which one's the worst? And if I missed an April movie that you think I'd be interested in, let me know about it down below in the comments section. And real quick, before we dive into the meat of things, I got one quick announcement. On May 21st, I will be at MegaCon Orlando, leading a panel on how to grow a nerdy YouTube channel with my buddy Cody Leach. Both of us will be in the hallway after the panel to talk with anyone, take pictures with anyone, or answer any questions. For as long as people are interested in talking with us, we would love to meet you there, and let's get started. In last place, Morbius. While I can appreciate that Sony wanted to do something a little bit different that combined the comic book movie genre with the horror genre, the end result is simply not a good film. This feels like they filmed a first draft and then tried to fix it in the editing room and only made things way worse. The tone is all over the place. There's a bunch of subplots and characters that don't really go anywhere. There's a number of plot points that are kind of repeated. And as you watch the film, it never pauses to properly develop anything. Whether an emotion, tension, it just states something and then the next thing happens. It's all in the right chronological order, but none of it has any sort of story flow, any sort of tension, so you don't care when anything happens. Nothing is developed. Nothing is particularly memorable. It's just some comic book movie stuff. And adding insult to injury, it comes up with some of the laziest possible ways to join into this whole multiverse that Sony's trying to come up with, a post-credit scene that just makes absolutely no sense on any level. Characterization, character motivations, or with the multiverse as established up to this point in time, it's just nonsense for the purpose of trying to make Morbius a little bit more relevant by tying it to something that people like. And it failed miserably at doing that. So without question, this was the worst movie that I saw this month. Number 7, Memory, the latest Liam Neeson action thriller. This is a movie that I was actually kind of excited for. Not because it's yet another Liam Neeson action thriller, but because it's directed by Martin Campbell. Martin Campbell directed Casino Royale, GoldenEye, Mask of Zorro, and then some smaller kind of action thrillers like Edge of Darkness, as well as The Foreigner, that I think are quite good. And so the idea of taking someone that's really good at directing kind of tense, serious action thrillers with the guy that has maybe done a few too many or way too many of them, thought maybe that could rejuvenate the Liam Neeson action thriller genre. Add to that, the movie has a pretty good hook to it, where the basic concept is our main hitman in it, Liam Neeson, he's got Alzheimer's. So he's starting to lose his memory and he's in cognitive decline. That's an interesting concept for an action thriller like this. But unfortunately, it's a movie that I feel would have worked much better as a 10-episode miniseries, because there's just too many subplots, too much plotting going on, too many characters that it can't all explore all of it in a 2-hour runtime, in which case that hook about this hitman with cognitive decline, that almost gets sidelined for all of these other plot lines and all this other stuff going on. That takes center stage, and it just occasionally comes back to the idea that he's not all there mentally. And unfortunately, the overall end result is one of the weaker films from Martin Campbell. Now, it's better than most of the recent Liam Neeson action thrillers, but compared to what I was expecting from someone like Martin Campbell, who can make a very good film like this, wasn't quite up to his standards. Next up, Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore. Now, while this is lower on this ranking, I actually did really enjoy this film and thought this was a nice return to form for the Wizarding World franchise. There was just quite a few good movies that came out this month. Now, for me, what I appreciated about this film is that it was kind of like a political spy thriller in the Wizarding World. in which case that was just something different. It allowed us to explore the world. And it also meant that the Fantastic Beasts franchise finally decided what it wanted to be. It's always kind of this tension. Does it want to be about Newt tracking down Fantastic Beasts, or does it want to be about the epic battle with Grindelwald? This movie kind of like firmly decides we are about the epic battle, and it doubles down on that. And I think it makes for easily the most focused of the Fantastic Beasts films. Another reason for that is that the previous two Fantastic Beasts films were written by J.K. Rowling exclusively, who is someone that is great at coming up with these big, gigantic worlds and elaborate stories, but that doesn't mean she's necessarily great at packaging it for a screenplay, for a 2-hour film. And for this film, they brought in Stephen Clove, who adapted all but one of the Harry Potter films, wrote the screenplay. And so he can take her big ideas, but package it into a proper screenplay that's great for the screen. I think you absolutely felt his presence, focusing her ideas, channeling in the tone, and making for what I thought was the best of the Fantastic Beasts films. And also thought that Mads Mikkelsen was a much better Grindelwald, and much better casting in that part than Johnny Depp. That's not a commentary on Johnny Depp himself. I just think it was better casting. Number 5, Ambulance. The latest Michael Bay film is a heist chase movie I thought it was actually really good. It's very much about putting you in the middle of this heist, this ambulance chase throughout LA. And Michael Bay is really good at creating visceral action sequences and using the camera really well. And one of the cool things they did with this movie is they tried to be very inventive with how they used drones to capture these chases. And so they did all these different drone shots that you can't film any other way. You can't do this with a helicopter or anything like that. And you know, some people thought it was maybe a little bit over the top with the way that it flipped around and all this crazy stuff, but it also made for very exciting chases and camera shots that we have never seen before. Add to that, you had Jake Gyllenhaal just giving this wild, crazy, over-the-top performance and over the top in the best way. So it was just a lot of fun. Now, the movie's probably 20 minutes too long. It's probably a little bit too much. There's some holes in the logic here and there, but it absolutely keeps you on the edge of your seat and delivers thrills and excitement. Number 4, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And for me, this movie took everything that worked about the original Sonic the Hedgehog, doubled down on it, sidelined the stuff that didn't work quite as well, and it made for a really fun video game movie. And I would say maybe the best video game movie of all time. A big gigantic piece of that is what really worked about the original is that they nailed the characterization of Sonic as well as Dr. Robotnik. And this movie has more Sonic, but he's teamed up with Tails, and Knuckles is thrown in the mix too, and they nailed the characterizations of Tails as well as Knuckles. And this is a fully formed Robotnik in full crazy mode, in which case it just has all the stuff that made the original so much fun, but more of it. And there's even more references to the video games, more fan favorite moments, that just put a big, gigantic grin on my face. Now, it does still have the problem of the human characters and not being sure quite what to do with them. And so it kind of gives them their own little subplot that's like a rom-com squished into the middle of this film that I enjoyed the sequences. They put a smile on my face, but it was always like, can we just get back to Sonic and his adventure? Do we need to do this? What are we doing here? But still, I just thought the movie was just so much fun and put such a big childish grin on my face. Real quick, before I give you my top 3, remember to share your ranking of the April 2022 movies that you saw, as well as letting me know if I missed something. I know there's even more good movies that came out this month that I didn't see. If you think I would like it, let me know about it down below in the comment section. Also, remember, in May, on the 21st, I will be at MegaCon in Orlando with Cody Leach, and I would love to see you there and meet you. In third place is The Northman, a Viking take on Hamlet combined with the Count of Monte Cristo, all told through the mind that brought us The Lighthouse. It is unlike anything I have ever seen before. It is trippy, it is wild, it is gorgeous, and it's also an awful lot to take in because it is such an extreme world that they take us into. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times when movies are done as period pieces, they try to kind of impose 20th and 21st century values onto our lead characters in the past and make them a little bit more palatable to modern times and modern audiences. This movie has none of that. It doesn't try to make the lead character a champion of 21st century freedom and justice. No, he is a Viking. And this movie instead takes us into their world and establishes their worldview, their morality, their ethics, their value set. And you see how that plays out with all these people with just this vicious, brutal worldview that is so wildly different and so uncivilized based off what we're used to. And in doing so, it makes for this compelling character study as well as compelling world study as you look and understand what the times of the Vikings was really kind of like. Now, at the same time, that also meant it took me about 40% of the movie to get acclimated to what I was watching, because it just drops you into the middle of these just barbaric people that are cruel and vicious, and our protagonists are cruel and vicious, and they're okay with terrible things happening that are horribly uncivilized. And so it takes you about 40% of the movie, or it took me about 40% of the movie to just kind of get used to it and be like, okay, I see what we're watching here. I get it now. And it's really about that halfway point where I started really getting invested into the plot, what was taking place, and started to understand the way that was showing this world and how they treated people and the consequences of it. And the tragedy, the conflict of the story comes from this just brutal worldview that they had just accepted. And you just see the horrible trickle down of it all and how cyclical it is and how it just feeds into itself. But all throughout, it's beautifully shot. It's gorgeous. It's compelling. It's interesting. It's trippy. It's weird. I don't know that it's a movie that like I'd rush to rewatch it all, but I'm glad that I experienced it the one time. Our runner-up, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, if you go back and watch my most anticipated films of 2022, this was actually a movie that I had on this list. It wasn't on my radar at all, but when I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home, they played the trailer for it. I was like, wait, a standalone multiverse movie starring Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's crazy weird in a martial arts film? Sold. And so finally I was able to check it out a couple weeks back. I actually went to go see it with Austin Burke, which was a really cool experience. And the movie was pretty much everything I hoped that it would be. It basically almost has kind of like an art house sort of film where it's entirely metaphoric in what it's trying to communicate about this person kind of in a midlife crisis, struggling through their relationship with their spouse and their daughter, trying to make sense of it, living through all the regrets of what could have been. And then it uses this now popular movie device of the multiverse and uses that to explore all this potential and provides a very accessible film that has comedy, it has martial arts, while being very art house in nature at the same time, and very metaphoric, extraordinarily weird, but accessible. And like I said, not to say that it's a mainstream film at all. It's not. It is extraordinarily weird, but it has things to provide entertainment while being very artistic and very poetic almost in the way that it tells this story and explores what it's like to get older and to contemplate what could have been and the path that might have been and how different choices could have taken you to different places. And the movie just takes the multiverse and just wraps it in that and goes wild. And I mean, there's like zombie aspects. There's just bonkers stuff with hot dog fingers and talking rocks and references to Ratatouille. It is wild. It is crazy. I would say I didn't love it quite as much as I'd hoped I would. And I think it just tries to be a few too many things and comment on a few too many things and has a few too many themes being explored in it. And so you kind of get to a point in time where it's just so many layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of stuff happening all at once, where I didn't feel like it was clear exactly what it was saying about any one of them, where I think stripping some of that away, being a bit more focused, I think would have done it a few favors. But man, it's awesome that a movie like this exists, that it got made, and that it has such the perfect cast for it. Even like that Short Round, and I forget his name from Goonies, that he came out of retirement from acting, and they cast him and he's so good as an actor, and he can also still do the martial arts. That's awesome. So many layers of things that I just love that this movie exists. But coming in first place, I've got to go with the unbearable weight of massive talent, Nicolas Cage, the movie. And so just as a point of reference, for the last 25 years, there's been an ongoing Chandler family joke about the fact that my mom really likes Nicolas Cage, in particular in Con Air. So as soon as my wife and I saw the trailer for this movie, we texted my sister to make sure that we scheduled a time to go see it all together as a family with my mother, sister, wife, all of us together making it happen. My mom even has Nicolas Cage Con Air pillows, very similar to the one that you see in this movie, but not quite the same picture that is in the movie. And so we went to go see it a couple days ago. That's actually why I didn't have a review earlier on. That's why I didn't go to a press screening, because I wanted to go see it with my family as a family event. So finally saw it a couple days ago, and it absolutely lived up to my expectations for what a movie celebrating the weirdness of Nicolas Cage and all that it could be. This is just a fun time at the movies if you're a fan of Nicolas Cage. And it works so well because him and Pedro Pascal are just an amazing bromance that is so much fun to see on the big screen. And then it's like meta on top of meta on top of meta. The jokes land. You just love the vibe of the whole thing. And once again, if you like Nicolas Cage movies, it's just a celebration of the weirdness that is his career and the memeability that is him as a human being. And so it lived up to my expectations for it. It was exactly what our family hoped it would be for our little family get-together that we had a couple days ago. So it comes in at number 1. Remember to share your ranking down below in the comment section. Also remember, I will be in Orlando for MegaCon on May 21st. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.